Hey everybody, welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. So I just got back from a 4-day retreat in the Rocky Mountain where we played tons of board games. So of course, I had to make a top 9 of all the games that I played. So first, let me show you a little bit about the location of where we played. So the location we're at is called Camp Chief Hector, run by the YMCA, and it's just beautiful. So this is the picture of the room as they were setting up. Now, later in the weekend, I took a quick video just to kind of show, a quick video of what everybody was playing as well. So let me show that real quick here. So we had a bunch of tables all set up. Lots of people brought like mats that we could put over. The table walking up to that was the table where I was playing, and we were playing the game called Evacuation. So I may or may not talk about that a little later. And then we're playing Heat at this table. So this was getting a little bit late in the evening, so a lot of people had gone to bed already. Medieval Ages, I want to say that. I can't remember what that title is. This one they were playing Lord of the Ring trick-taking game. And then over at this table we're coming up to, they're playing a game of SETI. Now, what's really amazing you're about to see here is, if you've noticed, all of the tables are really bright because they've got it set up where there's a light above every table at this location. It's just completely amazing. It was great setup. They also had breakfast and supper provided, and there was a chef on site that cooked the meals, and the meals were so tasty. The whole weekend was a lot of fun. So let's have a look at the stats, shall we? Let me go back to the presentation here. So during those 4 days, I played 32 plays of 28 different games. Now it shows 2 locations because one of the attendee was coming in from, or there's a few attendees actually that came in from the States and stayed with me the night before and the morning before. So we played a couple of games before the event. So, but yeah, so H index is 2. So that means 2 games got played 2 times. Otherwise, so we didn't make it to 3-day games 3 times, but a couple of games just got played a couple of times. But let's get into the top 9, shall we? So in number 9 position for all the games that I played at this 4-day retreat is First Rat. So this is a game that has been sitting on my shelf of shame, and I wanted to get it played. So I did bring a couple of games that I was hoping to get to the table, and this was one of them. And I was... When I got learning the game, because I watched a tutorial while I was, in my cabin and just kind of reading up on it. And then at first I was like, I don't know about this game. It sounded like it was going to be not a roll and move, but like a movement game. So almost a roll and move. And I was like, I'm hoping it's good. Like, I had heard great things. Hence why I bought the game. And then watching the tutorial, I was questioning the game a little bit. And then when we got playing, it's so neat. It's so puzzly. So we each control a family of rat, and we have discovered that the moon is made of cheese. So we are trying to rush to be the first family to make it to the moon so we can get access to all this cheese. And in order to do that, we're going to need to collect some baking soda and vinegar to create the thrusters, and then tin cans and calculators to create the cockpit. And you're going to create all of these little components, and every time you do, then you get to claim like a full rocket. And the first one to make it up the track then also kind of can put their mouse aside to score more points. So one thing in this game is everything score points. Depending on what you accomplish, there's tons and tons that you can do that's going to score points. But this is really all about the movements of your rat and where you're landing. So each rat can move between 1 and 5 spaces. And depending on where they land, they can either collect some of these resources that we need, or if they land on the cheese location, then you're collecting cheese, which is your kind of currency in this game. Or if you land on the apple core, then you're going to be able to move along the burrow on the bottom of the track, which is going to give you access to special abilities possibly, or to bring out your rats out of the nursery so you have more rats on the board, or just to kind of go around and get points. And now what's really interesting is, so each rat can move from 1 to 5 spaces, but if you manage to get 2 rats to move between 1 and 3 spaces so that they can land on the same colored location, then you can do that and you move twice the rat and you collect twice the resources. So there's benefit to that. And then there's the couple of stops along the way that will give you backpacks that will give you kind of extra scoring ability depending on where you land. You can get energy drinks, which is going to allow you to double the resources you're collecting on one turn. You can get, I forget what was it, bottle cap that kind of gives you end of game scoring as well. So there's all these different things that comes along. Now they are expensive. It's going to cost you a lot of cheese to get that, unless you decide to steal those items. Now, if you steal the items, you need to send your rat all the way back to the beginning of the board. So you might not want to do that if you're further along the board as well. Plus, you start with like few resources per space, but the further up you get, the more resources you can collect. So it's kind of beneficial to staying or trying to reach the higher portion of the map. Now, keep in mind, this is the pre-printed version side. You can flip the board and you just put kind of random tiles around. That's going to randomize the game as well. But the whole thing was so the theme was super cute. The story is kind of neat. And but the gameplay was such a neat puzzle race, because you're trying to make it up as quick as you can. You're trying to collect, but you're also trying to maximize each move. So it kind of has a race feel to it as well. But that was First Rat, my number 9, and it was really interesting. Number 8 position is a game that I own and I have played but had not played in a really long time, and that is Near and Far. Near and Far is really interesting. So first you're going to start on this side, where you have the board that you're in the village. And while you're in the village, you're going to recruit people to join your party. You're going to, get food, get gold, get treasures, maybe get an emu so that you can travel farther and you can hold, it's like a pack animal so they can hold the treasures. And you can go to the, market to trade some of the stuff that you've collected. So you're going to kind of organize yourself to go on this adventure. And then once you're ready, you're going to go on in the book. And the book is all bunch of different maps. And each maps has different locations that you can go visit and set camp at. And it kind of gives you a story and an adventure to follow. And it'll be like, okay, so you come across this cave and this is happening. What do you want to do? Do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And then depending on what you decide you want to do, you got to do a skill roll as well. But some of the resources or the characters that you've collected part of your party is going to give you special abilities that might give you extra counts towards that skill roll. Then you roll the dice and see what accomplish. And if you accomplish the what you turn out to be, you would get some reward. But if you accomplish it really well, then you would get extra reward. And then you can camp, collect gold, collect gems depending on where you're camping. You can build on trade routes. That's going to give you points at the end of the game. It's just really, really interesting. I really enjoyed the story aspect of this game. This first was the first game for a lot of people, and they were kind of like, no, you want to get all four of your party members before you go adventure. And honestly, that probably would have been a mistake. Would have been better off going on the adventures sooner, because you definitely had better reward out there. And then just you're going back. So you go into the adventure, do what you can. When you run out of heart, you come back to the village, you prep yourself to go again. And then when you're ready to go again, you go back and you visit a little further. It's such a neat game. The fact that it's the book that you can go from map to map. You could play this campaign if you wanted to. You can play it scenario. That's what I like. Like, I have a hard time committing to campaigns, so I love games that will just have scenarios where you don't have to necessarily do the campaign. But that was my number 8, Near and Far. Then in number 7 position is this game that I had never heard of, and it's MiniGolf Designers. And from what I understand, this game is going to be difficult to find, which is really too bad because this was amazing. So we're each have our own little mini golf course that we're going to design. And you start with a card that kind of shows you the land that you have and where you can build. And the goal is to create 9 runs, like, so 9, what is it called? I don't know, like 9 mini golf path in your whole mini golf. And you want to make it so that your guests are leaving from your entrance and make it go all around. And then when you finish one, that you just, the next tile over is the next course that would start. And then that you go all the way around kind of throughout the terrain you have access to, and that your mini golf, your 9th hole, ends by the entrance as well. So it gets really puzzly. And it has a bidding mechanism, a little bit like King Domino, where you're going to place kind of what tile you want to collect, and then you place it on your board. Now, once it's on there, you can't move it around, but it also determines who gets to pick first next round. Now, you can, if like, okay, all of this stuff really doesn't work for what I need to build, you can go and sit on the bench. So it kind of puts you in front of the line, but you're not collecting anything that round. Now, if you do that too many times, like if you do that, somebody else could go on the bench and get in front of you as well. Now, also, you're trying to create your course, each course, to be between par 3 to par 5. If you go over, it's going to be negative points. If you're under, it's going to be negative points. And that happens because as you build the track, some of the tiles will have like a value of it, and that's going to add to the par value. So really neat. It was kind of so satisfying. We all had a blast with this game. I had the best looking track, I think, like the best course. Everything was connected really well. But I didn't score very high, unfortunately. But this was a really neat game. If you do come across it, grab it, because it was really worth it. And that was MiniGolf Designers, my number 7. Then in number 6 position is another game that I own that I had not played in a while, and that is Lost Ruins of Arnak. And then we end up playing this one, but we actually played it with an expansion that I had never played with, and that's Expedition Leaders. So Expedition Leaders kind of give everybody a different character that has their own ability. And then it adds like on the, I don't know what it's called, that track on the side where you're going up with your magnifying glass and going up with your books. I forget what it's called, but you can change that board, and you put a new board on it, and there's different things that happens with it. And apparently the board you put on top of it is actually double-sided, so you could flip it over and play the other side. Now, we only played it the one time with the one side. My character would collect fear, and when you discarded the fear, he would keep them aside, and he could do rituals using those to get special abilities. Now, I didn't use those special abilities very much. Main reason because I had to discard, like, not just discard, but I had to trash the cards in my hand in order to do a ritual, and I didn't want to get rid of all of those cards. But this one is such an interesting game. It's like, there's a lot going on with it too. Like, you can do a lot of things. So it's deck building. So you have your cards that will activate different things that you can do. You can buy new cards. When you kind of run out of cards in your deck, you shuffle your discard pile and you kind of get them. So it's deck building, but it's also worker placement. And you have the worker placement portion where you can go on the map, collect different resources. You can go and discover new land, kind of go in these expedition, but then you're going to come across monsters that you'll need to battle. And depending on where you're traveling, whether you can travel by just boots, or if you're going to need to have a vehicle or a boat to travel there, or if you can take the airplane. Now, the airplane can cover everything as well. And then there's the artifact cards that you can collect that will give you different abilities that you can activate. And then of course there's this track of like the technology track. I'm gonna call it technology track. I don't think that's what it's called, but then going up of that gives you points as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do that can score points in a lot of different ways. But the expansion did kind of make it really interesting. My neighbor, the person sitting next to me, he had a monkey, and his board had a wheel that would turn around, kind of give him special abilities. The person sitting in front of me had birds. And my friend Marty had, his character had artifacts. He started with extra artifacts, and the artifacts give him special, or like it was easier for him to get artifacts, and he got extra stuff out of that. So it was kind of really neat to see the different players and how they played. Now, I'm not big on expansions, and I'm probably not going to go and run and grab the expansion for this game just because I don't like, I really enjoy Lost Ruin of Arnak, but it's not a game that I play monthly, so I really don't feel the need to spend extra money into it. Then in number 5 position is a game that I showed you real quick already, and that was Evacuation. So I was playing Evacuation in that video I showed you. This game is really interesting. So what's happening is the world we're living in is dying, and it's all becoming desert, and it's losing resources. So we need to leave, and we're leaving this earth to go into a new world that we need to kind of set up and organize. And what's interesting is you need to get all the resources set up on the old world to acquire rockets and kind of get your people and your infrastructure onto that rocket so that you can carry it to the new world. And at first you're collecting all your resources from that old world, but if you're going to be able to create things, you're going to have to send some of those resources over to the new world, and you're going to want to start setting up in the new world and creative resources there, because it's not going to be available on the old world, and it's not available on the new world if you don't bring it over, and you have limited space as to what you can bring, then send them back. And the whole thing was so interesting. Like, it's such a neat concept game. I did not do very good at this game, but it was really satisfying to play. And it was so interesting, kind of the resource management to a next level, because you got to manage your resource that are over here and the resource that are over there, and then this is dwindling, so you need to build on this side, but you don't want to dwindle too fast here if you're not set up to build on the next side yet. The whole thing was such an interesting game. I highly recommend this game. Evacuation was really neat. There's a bit of a close-up on the board. So as you see on the old world, we're flipping our tiles over as we're moving things out. And if you don't move everything out, then you're going to get some negative point as well. And then this was the player board. And then on the one side, you can see the cubes. They're all the resources. I have cubes in the new world side here, and I had a bunch of cubes on the old world here. And then there's also technology that you can develop that will give you special abilities. And what's really interesting with this one is you have the 4 different selection of action that you can do, and you would put a card to kind of activate that particular action, and the card is worth points, and then depending on how much points you get, if you kind of activate end of game action that you can do as well. But then the more cards you play, then you're going to need to start spending energy if you want to do more. And if you run out of energy, well, that's not good as well, because you also need to use that energy to have your ship travel to the other world. It was so interesting. It's very like a really neat resource management, because there's a lot to organize, but it was so much fun. And that was my number 5, Evacuation. Then in number 4 position is another game that I got off my shelf of shame. And this is a cooperative game, and it's called Tesseract. Now, Tesseract has amazing table presence. So you have this contraption with like a little lady Susan on it. Then you have like the board, and you have like this cube created with a bunch of dice. And what's happening is these cubes is actually like a ticking time bomb that an alien sent to Earth. And we need to deactivate this and contain it before it runs out of time and the world explodes. So And the way that you need to do that is you're going to be removing the dice off the pile. Now, as you're removing, and every round, and one comes out as well, but some of the symbols is going to show on the bottom, and those symbols kind of do something that's not really pleasant. And it just kind of wrecks things a little bit. And the goal is we're trying to get these cubes onto this board and have every color showing every number, because if you look at closely, you count the pips. So we have 1, 2, the Z is actually a 2, the triangle is a 3, the square is a 4, and then you have the star that's a 5, and then you have the cube that's a 6, and so on. So you're trying to put them on there and in order of colors and numbers. And once you fill that board, you successfully deactivated this ticking time bomb thing. It was really neat. I quite enjoy this one. And you're working with each other, so you can kind of trade dice with each other, but you have some limitation. And sometimes okay, great, I can get a 2 orange, but it's already been done. We don't need that one. What else can I do? And because you need to create clusters of dice that either has a run or the same number of either all the same color or all different colors. So you're trying to create this combination of dice in order to be able to place them onto the board. And in the meantime, dice goes into the it's like a waiting area, but then they can it's bad to have them in there, because if you get too much, it creates, and I forget what it was called, but you have to add board to I don't know. It's kind of a doomsday thing, but it creates, we'll say doom. It's not doom, but you add this, and if you get too many of that, you lose the game. If you run out of dice before you solve the problem on this Lazy Susan thing, you lose the game. So there's a few things that can go into play that would make you lose the game, and you're trying to win. Now, we played it at this easiest level because everybody was learning this game. We had never played it before. And even then, I wouldn't say that it was super easy. We won, but not by lots and lots. And that was level 1 out of 8. So you can ramp up the difficulty as well. But it was really interesting. I quite enjoy it. It's a beautiful game. And that was my number 4, Tesseract. Then in number 3 position for this 4-day retreat is Endeavor Deep Sea. So this one was delivered the last couple of months here. Now, I'm a big fan of Endeavor Age of Sail. Love that game. And I got this one because of that. And I was excited to try it. And I was not disappointed. All the things I really like about Endeavor Age of Sail, like the mechanism and then the way that the action works out and how it's all kind of figured out, is very similar in this one as well. So, and the board is very intuitive. It kind of explains well as what you're doing. And the top one, you're going to build up that first track so that you can get higher valued card, because each round you're going to add a card, and it's like a team in your marine biologist group, I guess. And then the second one allows you to get cubes added, kind of new workers added to your board. The second one allows you to take workers that have been placed and bring them back. And then the last round kind of gives you extra submarine, and it gives you extra movement that you can move by, and it also dictates how deep you can dive, because as we're playing this, we start with kind of the main, the surface. We have 3 of the surface, and we have 1 of the underwater, but then you're going to be using the sonars to add more tiles to this whole scenario. And depending on what's happening, some will have where you can do, it's like a little turtle icon, and you're doing some conservation work there, and you can kind of take different things and put tokens on them. Now, we played scenario, because there's different scenarios with this one. We played the first scenario, which was a bit of a point salad. Everything you did gave you points. So it was kind of, easy. You could just concentrate on anything, you would get points for them. So it was kind of a neat way to introduce into the game. The different scenarios kind of got a little bit more tricky, complicated, but we only played the base scenario to begin with anyways. And here's a close-up of the worker board. So, and you get the double inlay boards, and It was so good. It was so fun. I quite enjoy. Actually, this game got played quite a few times throughout the weekend. I only played it once myself, but it got set up a couple of times. And Endeavor Deep Sea was a hit, so that's why it's my number 3. Then in number 2 position is Galactic Cruise. So we set up Galactic Cruise on that first night, and I taught it to new people that had never played it before, and it was a hit. It was so good. This game is so satisfying. You're creating these spaceship that's going to go on cruise. So you need to pre-sell your tickets. You need to create your ship, kind of put some interesting rooms in there that would appeal to your guests. And there's 3 different kind of guests. You can have family that comes on board. You can have leisure people that'll come on board, or you can have like the adventurers that wants to do like, fun stuff. And you're going to go, and then you're going to travel through space. You're going to spend some day on the spaceship, or you're going to go and visit some different planets and do the activities there before you come back. And you're going to play this over 3 rounds. And then every time you ship, you're going to put cubes that kind of indicate, because there's once the tile is filled up, that ends the round. You do scoring and you go to the next one. But then you can also complete different goals, and that will allow you to put some cubes on there as well. And then it's worker placement. So you have the different location that you can send your workers. You can build some gears that allow you more storage for resources on your board, but then it also kind of makes it so that you can activate more and different actions at the same time. And you need to collect resources, because you're going to need food for this trip. You're going to need oxygen for these rooms that you've built, and you're going to need fuel to make it through the trip. So it's a really neat economic field game. Very cool. We quite enjoy this one. Everybody thought it was a hit, and then there's a bit of a close-up on the board, and it's so pretty. Like, that's a really neat looking board. I love the colors and the theme of it. So that was my number 2, Galactic Cruise. Then in number 1 position, I have Anno 1800. And this is a Martin Wallace game, and I'm a big fan of Martin Wallace. Most of the games I've played from his, I really like. I've played Rocket Man not too long ago, and I thought that was great. Tinner's Trail is one of my favorite. And this one was one that my friend Carla had talked about, and says, you really should play this. It's really great. I think you'll love it. And she was right. This game is amazing. We played this late. It was like past 11 when we started it. And it's like, oh, do you want to play this? I was like, yes, I really do. And here is the game all set up. So what's really interesting, that this is a trading game, and you have your workers, and you have kind of different class workers. So your green workers are going to kind of work on the farm and do more manual labor type of stuff, but it's all about creating resources or creating a product of some sort. Then you're going to have your blue workers, and they can activate different things to create these different things that you can generate, and you're going to be trading with each other as well. So because you're going to start with like, okay, well, I'm going to go and send my green worker onto the wood so I can create wood, and I'm going to send them over here as well so that I can now make clay. So now I'm making clay, and you're creating these different things. And then, so you're going to create all these different resources, and every time you have a worker token that you have, you take a person card, and that card's going to give you different things that you can activate. And what triggers the end of the game is spending all of the cards that you have. But every time you get new workers, you get new cards as well. I had a mitt full. I was nowhere near ending the game. And then you can create boats, because you can go and extend to your board, because you're going to run out of room eventually as you go. But it was, and you can go to these exotic lands that you can also add to your board. And these ones, you can't create those resources. You need to trade. But in order to be able to trade, you need to have the boats that allows you to get some trading tokens. And you can also have some boats that kind of gives you some exploration tokens, because that's how you're going to be able to add onto your board, because otherwise you're going to be filled up. Now, you can build on top of an existing business as well, but you are resource that you would kind of goods you would create, but you got to be careful, because if you do that too much, you might be like, oh, I need wood, I covered it up. So, but then some of the goods that are being created by other people is like, yeah, I'm going to give you a trading token so that you can generate that good for me. And for them, the benefit is they get a gold, you spend a trading token, but now you have that resource so you can combine it with other stuff and kind of get new goods on your board. The whole thing was so well designed. Like, it just works so well. I absolutely love this game, and that's why it's in my number one position. So those were the top 9 games that I played at this retreat. It was a blast. If you get a chance to attend a private retreat like this, I highly recommend that you attend those or even run your own. It was really neat to have all of these people. Most are friends. This was my first time attending, and a lot of people there I didn't really know, so I was kind of the odd man out. But it was such a lovely weekend. We played so many games. It was so good, and to have a bunch of people so equally passionate about board games was a lot of fun. So I'm really hoping I'll attend again next year. And in the meantime, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on YouTube at Mel's Board Game Room. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. And I also have a podcast that I do with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist. Bye, everybody.